Okay, so I have a philosophy about life that we're here for two different reasons. One is to maximize our spiritual side, and one is to maximize our results in the real world. And even though these would seem contradictory, I actually believe that they merge together and that we want to maximize both of them. Now, this is going to be very, very weird, and I definitely can't prove this. But in my view of life, we're here as sort of like a training, and we have to learn how to harness our spirit, and we have to learn how to harness basically our physical abilities to get the best results in the actual world. So in many videos, I talk about what it means to pull down energy and to move that through you and to offer more power and love to the world. But in this video, what I want to do is I want to talk about how to get the most physical results out of any interaction that you'd be in. So in other words, let's say that you go to a party or some kind of bar or club, or maybe you come to a park just like this one, whatever it would be, there's going to be a bunch of people there. I want you to say to yourself, how could I walk into that environment where there's a lot of people and I could just maximize it where I offer the most value, like the value that you have to offer, your personality, your fun, your skills, anything unique that you'd have to offer. I want you to think how you could just walk in and just offer the most of yourself to create this huge win for the most amount of people there so that everybody would have been excited to meet you. Now, at the same time, I also want you to think about how to maximize the value that you get. In other words, maybe you're gonna meet people who really, really like you, and you're gonna have a very, very deep connection. They're gonna be so into meeting you. But at the same time, maybe you're gonna meet people that are kind of just marginally into you. They thought you're okay, but they definitely wouldn't want to be meeting up with you again. And then frankly, there might even be people who don't resonate with you at all. They just don't really like the vibe that it is that you have to offer. But believe it or not, if you actually know what you're doing here, you can create a situation where you can offer value to all of those people, every single category, the people that love you to death, the people that just think you're okay, and even people that dislike you. You can actually offer value to all of them, but then of course on your end, you can also get the most amount of value back. I want you to think of it almost like you have superpowers, and you walk in the environment, and it's like this entire map of people, and you can just see the entire play of like how you would begin to change your own mood, how you'd walk in, how you'd begin to engage and interact with other people, how you would move from group to group to group, just offering value, making people happy, and just making the world better. And then at the end of it, say it took you a couple hours, by the end, you would have actually received the most amount of value in return. Maybe that could be making some sales, making some business connections, networking. It could be that you made a new romantic connection that you could be pretty excited about. Maybe a deep one, maybe a surface level one. It could be a new friend that you want to make. It could be that you just had a really good time. It could literally be anything. But imagine if, like I said, we're here on this earth in many ways to learn how to cultivate our spirit and to offer the force of love and power into the world. Well, at the same time, imagine if you had the same aspect in the physical world where you could go to any environment and just honestly know how to maximize it. And then as you did this, you grow to these crazy levels because everybody's just giving you a lot of input. Just fun, attention, money, friendship, business connections, romantic experiences, wild day-to-day joy, just whatever. You're getting all that, so it's feeding you. You're making more money, happier, everything's going great. And then because of that, you're actually able to have better boundaries with yourself because you're very powerful. I'll talk about that later. And then you can actually give more, and there's just this massive exchange and this massive win-win. What this would ultimately be is you mastering what I believe is another purpose that you have on this earth, not just to cultivate the spirit, but to cultivate your ability to produce results. Let's do it. So I'm gonna get you to think a little bit outside of the box here, and I want you to think about life. Instead of this sort of moment-to-moment energy that's coming at you, I want you to think of it like this grand puzzle. And it's your job while you're here on this earth, in this experience, to figure out as much of the puzzle as you possibly can. Think about it that way. Imagine if at the end of your life, you're gonna come out of this experience and you're gonna go on to something far, far greater. what is it that you would have learned? And what would you have learned, like I said, on a spiritual level, but also on a physical level about how to make things happen? So I think that most people walk into a social situation with very little idea of how to add value to that social situation and very little idea of what it is that would be in their best interest to get or receive from that social situation. And so most of my friends, if I was being honest, they walk into a party or a club or daytime environment and they'll sit there with their hands pressed up by their chest, kind of bopping to the music, beer drink press up real close, again, even using alcohol to try to hide from their emotions of that environment, try to mute all the stimulation and really just hiding through it. Or they'll sit there kind of cross-armed, kind of mean-mugging, looking tough because they're defensive. Or conversely, they get all bold and they're just like, rah, and they try to go all over the place because it's like they're either compensating by being too shy and trying to fit in, or they overcompensate by being maybe a little bit too much out there. And I think the reason that they do this is because they don't understand who they are or what value it is that they have to offer the environment. And again, I don't even think they really understand how to optimize what they'd want to get back out of it. They sort of have some vague idea of what they want to get out of it, but they don't really understand. Now, in order to solve this puzzle, I want to actually pull away from this for a minute, okay? So again, we have this kind of close up here, like you're at the party or wherever you are. It's a little bit confusing. I want to zoom out for a second, like, whoa, bird's eye view, way out, almost like you're looking at planet Earth, like from way, way, way far out, okay? And you're looking at it and you're seeing it for what it actually is because you have such a bird's eye view of it, rather than being so immersed in it to where you can't see it really clearly. And I want you to imagine that planet Earth, your experience here, is almost like this ultimate training ground, where, like I said earlier, it's like a spiritual training ground where you learn how to draw down energy and move it out. But it's also a physical training ground where you're learning how the world actually works and how to maximize yourself in that environment. So I want you to be thinking of life like a puzzle, and you're going to learn how to maximize the puzzle. Basically, if you think about it that way, you're going to get so much more out of life, in my opinion, okay? Because if you're too close to it, it's like, oh, they're saying this, and this person didn't like me, and what does that mean? And what does it mean that this bad thing happened? What does it all mean, right? And you're way too close to it, and frankly, you're not seeing the bigger picture for what it actually is, okay? Which is the challenge. So I want you to be thinking of life like this series of challenges, and the challenges will keep increasing as you get better, just like in a video game, okay? So you're thinking right now that if you had like a certain basic skill set, maybe you were pretty good at socializing, for example, or pretty good at making money, or pretty good with your own confidence, whatever it is, you're thinking that it would end there and that you'd be comfortable. Wrong. As you move up, the challenges will become more and more complex, but I'll say this, you have to wish for that. So now we're going to deviate for a minute. Here's what I mean. You can either wish for comfort or you can wish for growth. So anytime that you're like, I wish I'd just stop feeling scared, or I wish I just kind of knew what to do so the problem would go away. Anytime that you're doing that, you're wishing for comfort. But when you're wishing for growth, what you're wishing for is that the problems will keep getting increasingly complex and demand more from you. So maybe you get a little bit more upset than you're used to and you learn how to manage your emotions. Or maybe the social situation gets a little bit more challenging and you learn how to actually produce results in a more and more challenging situation, okay? So what I want you to do basically is have that general view that life is a puzzle and is preparing you for some grand, bigger vision after life ends. And then as you're doing this, what I want you to think about is, with every single situation, how can I learn both to offer the most to it? That could be spiritually drawing down energy and shooting energy into the environment, almost like the Care Bears or something like that. Or it could be you actually building value in the real world that you can offer to other people, but it's also how to receive value back. And just keep looping this in your mind over and over, and it becomes this amazing puzzle. It gets a lot more fun that way. You're not so close to it. It's all so serious. It becomes this really, really fun puzzle to solve the puzzle. And so with that spirit in mind, what we're going to go into next is some of the ways that I've personally solved the puzzle and going into this. And what I think we'll cover next, by the way, is the reasons why most people actually get annoyed when you've solved the puzzle at this level. Because what I'll tell you is that when you start crushing it on this level, your results are going to get so crazy and you're going to start resonating at such a higher level, it's going to freak people out. So the first thing I'm going to do, actually, before I even break this down, is I also want to show you why the average person is not even capable of thinking at this level or paradigm. And I want to show you how to disattach from any of their stifling opinions. So So the next thing that I want to show you is what I call a low vibration narrative. And what this means is that people who are operating at a low vibrational sort of spiritual level, they've got a certain way of thinking. And so if you start thinking about succeeding at a really high level, if you talk to your friends about this, they're going to actually really disapprove of you having a lot of success. And the reason why is because they are being run by these low vibration narratives, okay? Because what we're going to be talking about here is how to get really, really, really crazy success. And so as I show you this, you might not even be able to resonate with it unless I prepare you for this. So I want to prepare you for this because you might have these low vibration narratives that are holding you back, or your friends might also have these low vibration narratives that are holding you back. Now, I'm going to give you 3 of them right here. The first one is that you are at the effect of life, not the cause. So you'll generally see this with people of low income, or people who just are just kind of unhappy in life, people that aren't doing well, people who aren't doing well socially, financially, health-wise. They'll generally come from the mindset that the world is sort of the way it is, and they have very little control over their results. They're at the effect. The very common thing here is what's known as a victim narrative. And in personal growth, like whether it's Tony Robbins or Eckhart Tolle or Stephen Covey, like in almost any form of human transformation, the first thing that they've got to dispel in you is what's called a victim narrative. In fact, sometimes there's even people that are, they call them social engineers, who want to actually like impoverish entire segments of society, and they will brainwash them to believe they're victims. And they do this very specifically because they know that if you believe you're a victim, that is the single most disempowering state that you can physically be in. Here's why, okay? We have this thing called reticular activation system, it's RAS. And what this is your selective focus. So let's say you walk in an environment and there's a whole bunch of opportunities, but also a whole bunch of things that would maybe be a challenge and kind of make it hard, right? If you believe that you're an overcomer and that you're at the cause of the results in your life, like you are the person who determines your results in life, then what will happen is all those things that are blocking you out, you're not going to focus on those so much. At least maybe you have to sort of get past them. You'll focus on them a little bit, but what you're going to be more focused on is the opportunity and the resources. Like there's all these resources that are available. So if you believe that you're at the cause of your life and that you can overcome your challenges, then your RAS is going to zoom in on those things, and all these opportunities are going to become available, and inevitably you're going to crush it. You have to, because you're simply tuned in to see opportunity, right? But if you believe that you're at the effect of life, that you're a victim, then whatever opportunity it is that comes up, you're not going to be able to see it. And look, I've seen this myself. Like, you know, I've been running an 8-figure business for quite a long time now, and I'll put opportunities in front of people and really try to help them to get ahead. And oftentimes what happens is they cannot see it. It is so crazy because that victim narrative is so stuck deep in their head that what'll happen is they'll just sit there talking about the most random things like, well, look, I know that we could make like $700,000 from this, but there's this other problem where we lost $300. And I'm like, why do you care about the $300? There's $700,000 right here. The $300, and they'll just keep looping on it and focusing on it, right? Like, for example, I'll throw the sickest parties. Like, I'm up in the Hollywood Hills, throw a huge mansion party, like best people are there, right? And I'll invite over some of my friends that struggle. And I'm thinking like, I don't need to have them there. I'm wanting nothing from them. I'm inviting them a little bit more as a charity, to be honest, just try to help them out. And as soon as I invite someone who's in that mindset to a super dope party, the first thing they're gonna do is they're gonna start complaining about how this person annoyed them, and then that person was like chatting to the person that they want to talk to. And I'm thinking like, yo, do you understand how many resources that it took me to create this party? I want to have a good night. Why are you not coming to me, making me have fun, so I want to invite you again? Why are you making problems with people? But generally speaking, what you'll notice is that somebody at a low level, it's almost inevitable that they're going to make problems with people. They're going to complain. Look, I'll tell you another one. You're not going to want to hear this. You're going to hate me when I say this. You're going to literally hate me. In the information marketing space, say that you market things like seminars. When you go to actually, like say for example, you have this amazing seminar about basketball, and you want to get your seminar about basketball out there. So what you'll do is you'll go learn from internet marketers. And one of the first things that internet marketers will tell you is don't deal with people that don't have a lot of money, because you know you're better to deal just with rich people. They'll say that. I like dealing with people of all levels, by the way, because I've been one of them and I empathize. So I don't mind if someone's difficult to deal with. I'll just deal with it. Same reason I invite my friends that are at a lower level to a super dope party. I just do it anyway. It is what it is. I don't care. But they'll literally tell you, that person who you invite to like the $50 thing or the $100 thing, or frankly, the person who, you know, you might have spent $10,000 or $20,000 and years of experience and effort and time, you know, to create a free video. You put up a free video, the same people that are flat broke that watch the free video will start complaining about the free video. right? They're complaining about the free event that you put on. They're complaining about the dirt cheap event, the dirt cheap event that you put on. Meanwhile, if you actually put on like, an event that costs $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, and you screen out people that can't afford it, the people that show up there that are at that level in life, why are they at that level? You'd think it's because like they cheated the system somehow, and I'm sure that there's some cases of that too. But in many cases, it's because they have gratitude. When you have gratitude, what happens is that rather than being a victim, I'm ungrateful for my opportunities. I'm mad that I don't have more opportunities. Instead, if you're in a state of gratitude, which then opens up your reticular activation system so that you can see all these different opportunities in front of you, well, now you're getting all this money in and you're getting all this success and friends and all this. And then what winds up happening is that if you go to, even if you spent 10 grand on a seminar, you're in a state of gratitude. You're like, wow, thank you. So ironically, the higher that you charge for a seminar, what winds up happening is that you screen out people that are low gratitude, because generally low gratitude people are broke. Generally, not always, but generally. And so this is what goes on right now. This is a flip from what we think it normally is, right? And this is very painful to hear. Normally what we think is, well, someone's life sucks. Of course they're not grateful. Their life sucks. Easy for you to say, Mr. Owen, in your mansion party, right? Not asking me about my life, my background, where I came from, and knowing nothing about it at all, or what I deal with on a day-to-day basis. Or, I mean, I could tell you things about my life where you'd have a hard time watching the rest of this video, you'd feel so bad for me, but I don't focus on that. What I focus on is what I'm grateful for, because I'll get more of it. The things that frustrate me, yes, they frustrate me. Yes, I'm gonna take action to fix them, but generally speaking, I wanna open up that gratitude. So that's the first thing, is that, ironically, even when your life sucks, if you focus on the opportunities that you do have and you're grateful for them, you'll tend to capitalize on those opportunities, and then you'll tend to get more of those opportunities. So once we understand that the state of gratitude or victimhood is often a self-fulfilling prophecy more than it is necessarily a state of physical being, the next thing that we want to understand is that people in a low vibration narrative believe that success or winning is what's called a zero-sum game. And what that means, what's up guys? By a zero-sum game, what that means is that they come from a mindset that for you to win, somebody else has to lose. Very, very common mindset in success. And so what winds up happening is that people feel bad to actually get out there and put themselves out there and offer their services or their friendship or their romantic interest. They feel like, oh, if I'm romantically interested in this person, that's not a win. Have you ever seen this in society where you talk about helping people in their romantic life and then people interpret it like you're doing something wrong by helping you to have more romantic success? That's insane. How are we going to actually create a population of great families, bring people together, make it so that people are their best selves for each other? But because there's an underlying narrative in society that if you actually try to get better socially or romantically, that somehow it's a zero-sum game and somebody else is losing, there's a horrible, horrible, horrible attitude towards getting better socially or doing better at sales or making money or having a better romantic life. It's insane. And literally this insane misinterpretation of making an effort to get better in this area, ultimately what it comes from is this underlying mentality of, like we said, the zero-sum game. And so if you talk to your friends about getting better, you know what they're often gonna say? They're gonna say, oh, I wouldn't do that. I just think that's wrong. To actually learn how to offer more value, to learn how to actually do better for people, to learn how to actually make the world a better place. There's something wrong with that. That doesn't make any sense, right? It's coming from the mindset that people who do better are bad and that people who do worse are good. You see this? That it's a zero-sum game. It's scarcity-based. So notice again that there's an inversion here, right? It's like if you're ungrateful, you think that's because your life is bad. No, your life is often bad because you're ungrateful. Well, in the same way, if you're coming from a scarcity mentality, there's only a certain amount of resources in the world. There's just a small pie, and everybody that takes the pie took away from my pie. Now again, this is barring certain monopolistic practices. Everybody knows that there's a middle ground to this. Anybody who's got half a brain understands that. But generally speaking, people in a scarcity mentality, they take it way too far, and it winds up becoming this huge excuse for inaction, and they put 90% of their focus on complaining. If 90% of your focus is on complaining, how is your RAS going to see those opportunities? Look, the most important question that you can ask yourself in life is this question. Repeat after me. It's called, what else? Say that after me. What else? And what that means is that instead of complaining, what else could I be focusing on? How about finding all the cool different resources? So what winds up happening is that the mind plays a trick on you and it gets you to focus on complaining so that you won't see opportunity and so that you'll fail. Again, this is why very dark, evil people will convince you that there's no opportunity and that the world is bad. And they'll convince you of that so that you won't take action, so you won't become self-reliant, and then therefore you will be reliant on them. And then they will give you marching orders and be mommy and daddy for you and then basically exploit the crap out of you. People that are telling you to stop complaining, guess what? They're not trying to exploit you. They're actually trying to help you to empower yourself because they believe in you and they think you're awesome and they think you're capable and they think that you're very powerful. So that's why I said you're making videos like this. I believe in your power. I wouldn't make this video if I didn't believe in your power. So again, we've got to flip that loop. Right now, let's look at the next one, this kind of low vibration narrative. Let's see what happens here. What winds up happening is that you actually start to think that if you're unsuccessful, that means that you're morally superior. And that if you are successful, you're morally inferior. But in reality, generally, again, there's successful people that are very morally corrupt, incredibly morally corrupt. There's plenty of psychopaths and sociopaths that climb the corporate ladder. That's proven. I've known people like that. It's really demented. But that being said, while there's cases of that, it exists, there's also a reality that success comes from offering more value to the world as well. So you want to be thinking of this from a mindset that the brain and low vibration energy is the great deceiver. And what I'm going to tell you here is so profound that you will blow this off. I predict that you will hear this and you will blow this off within about 2 seconds. And the reason you're going to blow it off is because this is too empowering and your brain can't handle it. It's like looking right in the sun and it's too much. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Remember that question that I said the most important thing is to say to yourself, what else? You remember that? Here's why. Imagine if you were using most of your time to do one of the following things. Either A, to educate yourself, B, to have an amazing, super fun time, or C, to be highly productive. Imagine this. Imagine if you just got rid of all the crap. You got rid of all the crap, the gossiping, the complaining, the victim narrative, the looping, just looking at stupid, utterly pointless social media. Imagine if you got rid of all of that and you put all your time on just educating yourself, having super fun and loving life and being grateful and being productive, okay? Or maybe taking a good quality, relaxing break. You see my point here? Imagine you put your time on that. What would happen? Your life would be ridiculous. Your life would be amazing. Your life would be incredible. And so what your brain does is your brain says, how much success do you want to have? And it says, what is your success level? Who are you as a person? What kind of success should you have? And basically what happens is that your brain has like this little kind of success ceiling. And if it feels that the ceiling is low, it will flood you with complaining. It will flood you with scarcity. It will flood you with zero-sum game thinking. It will flood you with this idea that if you're a failure, you're somehow morally superior. And it floods you and it floods you and it floods you and it floods you. And it stops you from actually empowering yourself. Think about this for a minute. You know very well that you're probably spending hours a day on social media, hours a day complaining, hours a day looping, hours a day being unproductive in this weird gray days. It is pointless. You know that. That's because you view your success at a certain level and you think that success isn't for you, and therefore you complain and complain and complain. Look, I've sat there and helped many people to build up 7-figure businesses, and I've seen the success barriers. They always blow it the same way. They blow it the same way by, instead of being happy about the success they have, what they do is they start focusing on minutia. It's usually things that are real. They're complaining about things that are real. The complaints are real. The complaints are real. But what they're doing is like their RAS, there's this huge thing of awesomeness, like this big parade going by, but they can't focus on the parade. All they can focus is on that little dot of smudge on the window. The little smudge on the window is real, but it's the success barrier that makes you not able to see the parade, and you just keep overly focusing on the smudge. You focus on the smudge, you focus on the smudge, you focus on the smudge, and that's blocking you from seeing the parade. In the same way, if you believe that you're a victim, if you believe that success is a zero-sum game, if you believe that you're morally superior by being broke, and you believe that you should simply have your thoughts being run on this loop that basically is holding you down in reality, then you're gonna focus on the smudge. So you've got to get yourself ready mentally that your friends are probably also very much focused on these smudges. And your friends are thinking at that level. And your friends are probably consuming things like alcohol and drugs, which are specifically designed to make it to where you can't succeed, because now you're burning your time on alcohol and drugs, burning your brain out, and just sitting there baked or drunk out of your mind. So that's another thing, right? And the new trendy thing these days, that stuff is crunk, or it's somehow like a good thing, right? It's not a good thing. It's designed to hold you down. That's why, you know, you go through life, you see that most of society, people are just held down in a very, very bad way from that stuff. And the lower that you go down, the more that people are generally held down by that, okay? It's specifically designed for that, as is things like processed foods and so on and so forth. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna start to become hyper aware of what kind of narratives and what kind of paradigms are actually infecting your mind. And as you become more aware of these, you're gonna realize your friends are in these too, and they want you to stay there so that they can infect you with their ways of thinking, so that you can co-infect them back and keep cross-infecting each other. And they're afraid, very afraid, that if you start thinking bigger, that you could escape this weird energetic loop of co-infection that you're both in. So anytime that they see you thinking bigger, they're gonna go right back to that morally superior argument. They're gonna go right back to that success is a zero-sum game argument. They're gonna go right back to complaining. They're gonna do anything they can to distract you from actually taking control of your own results and being at the cause of your life. So that's the first thing that you need to understand. Now, once you understand this and you see what's happening, now we can begin to talk about your ascent, okay? Moving up. And like I said, life is about spiritual ascent. I've talked about that in other videos. I'll talk about that in more videos. But in this video, I want to talk about what it means to go into any environment, to think at a higher level, to think about high levels of exchange, which is amazing. You want to be exchanging at a high level, offering value, receiving value. And in doing this, I want you to be thinking about how to solve the puzzle of life as a joy and a hobby that has value in and of itself. It's not about making the most money or whatever, right? Having the most social interaction, romance, whatever. Yes, that stuff's good, but that can't make you happy. You wanna know how to be happy? Read the Sermon on the Mount from the Bible. It's what you give that makes you happy. But what this is recognizing that you are alive on this earth in a physical world, and that by actually solving this puzzle, you are moving up. Because what is ultimately challenging you to do is that you can't even move up in this puzzle unless you begin to elevate in your spiritual consciousness anyway. So the two actually are synergistic, success in the physical, success in the spiritual, and you can actually attain success in both and go up and up and up and up and up. So we're gonna go into our next point about how you are actually far more complex than you realize. You're like a living ecosystem. You're a actual structure, and I want you to have structural integrity. So to make this point, funny enough, if we're here, we might as well take advantage of it. We're sitting right above a classic scene from the old Batman movie where Heath Ledger is the Joker and Christian Bale is Batman, and they have this chase scene in these tunnels, okay? Now, in Chicago, it's the most beautiful city. I'm a little bit partial to New York, although I love Chicago, but Chicago is actually the cleaner city. And if you look around, there's no garbage on the streets here, or very minimal garbage on the streets here. The reason why is because Chicago actually has this elevated floor to it. Like, we're sitting up here, it looks like we're on the ground, but actually we're elevated, and there's a level beneath this where they put all the garbage. That's why New York has garbage on the street, but Chicago is elevated. So, do you remember that scene from Batman? Well, funny enough, underneath there's all those tunnels, okay? So I'm actually gonna have my guy just roll down here right now and go down there and actually show you exactly what it looks like down there. And he's gonna point the camera down the stairs so you can feel like you're going down the stairs. And then I'm gonna go down the stairs, okay? And we're gonna go under here, right in the tunnels, and you're gonna get the idea of what I'm kind of getting at here. So you think of yourself, funny enough, you're thinking that you're who you are at the surface, almost like the top here, Chicago, all these beautiful buildings, right? You think that the person you are is the person that you are at the surface. But there's all these things underneath, like the tunnels here from Batman that you probably saw in that movie. There's all these different things underneath that you're unaware of. So I bet you that when you were seeing the beautiful city up there, you thought that we were on the ground level, right? It looks like it on the surface, but it's actually not. You probably recognize this whole little area. I don't want to get killed over here, but you see my point, right? Do you recognize all this? Recognize and get killed here, but you recognize all this from Batman? Okay, and there's networks of tunnels like this right underneath the surface that you wouldn't even know are actually happening. It's pretty crazy stuff, okay? Now, be careful, man. So we're gonna walk over to the bridge right here, and the idea that I'm trying to show you is that you are far more complex than you ever realize that you are. So don't look at yourself as the person who you are at the surface. I want you rather to think that you are the sum of a lot of things, such as your beliefs, okay? There's a whole bunch of different beliefs that you have. There's also the energy that you're carrying, high vibration or low vibration energy, and here's where it gets really interesting, okay? You can only resonate with beliefs or levels of, or ideas from a state of consciousness that you have yourself. So if we give you any ideas about how to completely, utterly crush it, if you're not at that level spiritually or energetically you resonate with that, it doesn't matter what I show you, you're not gonna be able to see it. It's really crazy how this works, okay? And this is why a lot of these ideas, if you show them to your friends, it's not gonna sink in for them. It cannot sink in for them. Most of these ideas cannot sink in the mainstream. In fact, in many ways, if you take somebody's belief that they are at the effective life, that life is too hard, that life is a zero-sum game, and you actually call them out on that or challenge that in any way, not only are they usually unable to see it, but they will actually lash out, okay? They will wish very, very, very bad things for you if you say that. So this is actually something that you have to keep to yourself. Keep it to yourself that you realize that you're not a complete victim. Keep it to yourself that you realize that there's all these different opportunities in life. Keep it to yourself that you realize that you're far more powerful than anybody gives you credit for. Keep that to yourself, okay? Me running around making videos about this, like, you're powerful, you're amazing, you're a living ecosystem. There's things beneath the surface that you can work on that could actually make you do better. You're not supposed to know that. Your friends won't acknowledge that. Your parents probably won't acknowledge that. Because again, one answer could be, because the world is just so bad and this is some crazy story. And that's what they're gonna tell you, and fundamentally it's gonna come down to what you believe. But really at probably, I would say at like a higher level, and actually we're gonna stand this way because this is like way cool. I would say that at basically at a higher level, what you have is the person can't resonate with it because their psychology is not prepared for it. And look, this is coming from me, somebody where I couldn't accept this. Like, I would try to show people the path for years and years, and I would watch how they would mess things up. Now I'm gonna reiterate this. What is the way they mess things up? It's their RAS focuses on the wrong what else. It's that, I'll even be more blunt. It's usually when you get people making it around $1 million a year that they just goof the whole thing off. That's just what I've seen. You know, you can get them up to like 50K a year, they can roll with that. You get them up to like 100K a year, they can roll with that. You know, you get them up like 300-400K a year, they can roll with that to some extent, but then they start complaining, getting all negative. You start getting them up to $1 million a year, that thing is just a ticking time bomb. Okay, it's gonna blow up. And their mind is gonna snap them back into that lower level so quickly, it's the craziest thing you've ever seen. It's the same reason why people win the lottery, and then 5 years later, they're almost consistently broke. If you don't know how to manage $5,000, you think you know how to manage 500,000? You think you know how to manage 5 million? Of course not. It's a money management area. It is to do with financial literacy, understanding of marketing, understanding of human psychology, understanding of how to create value, offer value, and exchange value. If you don't understand that, you got $5, 500, 5,000, 500,000, 5 million, 5 billion, guess what? I mean, to be fair, I guess you could give the person so much money that their stupidity can't burn through all that money. But barring that you would give them so much money, it's not even stupidity, by the way, it's a low paradigm. I've been there, we've all been there. I probably have low paradigms left in me now. But barring that you give them so much that even at a low paradigm, that like they physically can't burn through it, what you're generally gonna find is that they've got to upgrade their paradigm. So you've got to resonate with that. So what we'll get into, we'll probably pop back up, or maybe we'll even go in some of the cool bridges down here. There's some amazing bridges down here. And what we'll do is get into this whole idea of what it means to think about value exchange at a higher paradigm. Rather than just viewing yourself as this isolated little island. You're Timmy. Hi, Timmy. You're just Timmy. Hi, Peter. You're Peter. I'm Owen. Nice to meet you, Peter. I am Owen and you're Peter. And we're just like these random two folks. And life is just how it is. Life is just whatever is dictated to us is life. Nothing we can do. So let's just complain, okay? Rather than thinking like that, we're gonna start to look at yourself as a living system. as a structure. And we're gonna start looking at what it means to create structural integrity, what it means to go under the surface and to start becoming at the cause of your results and not at the effect. And again, you're gonna resist this because you're gonna think that life and love and finance is a zero-sum game. You're unable to see the abundance, but the abundance is around you, okay? And again, we all know about certain counterexamples to this that we can overly focus on. But generally speaking, as far as the level that you're currently at, and frankly, the one that I'm currently at, again, the level that I am currently at, because we're not all that we think we are, there is so much more abundance than you realize. And what we got to do now is show you how to tap into that. And once you see the opportunity there, it's like, oh! Like, you know, like look at like this like background here. It's like, you just like look at all this, like look behind you. It's just like, oh! Stuff everywhere, okay? Once you can see that, then what starts to happen is you say to yourself, how do you tap into that stuff? Or say you go to somewhere where there's a lot of people, it's like people everywhere, so many possibilities. How do you tap into that? And how do you get to the point where you begin to solve the puzzle of life, this puzzle that I believe you've been put here to solve? And what does it mean to begin to understand how to solve that puzzle, both so that you can enjoy solving the puzzle, so that you can move up, so that you can enjoy life more, and so that you can share more value with others. Okay, so in any commercial that you're gonna be watching, that commercial is gonna be advertising to the lowest common denominator, because in our population, it's a lot like a pyramid, where the lowest level of the pyramid, there's a lot, and then the top of the pyramid, there's a tiny little amount. And for that reason, your paradigm, if it's at a low level, is gonna continually be getting reinforced. I've made other videos about this. It's even in search engine optimization, where you make a video about some low level thing, because the most people are searching for it, you get the most views. Generally speaking, when you pander to a low level, that is what's gonna get you financial reward. So for a way of looking at it, our consumer culture is actually rotten in some respects, and this is an area where it actually is rotten, not in the area that most people say where there's lack of opportunity, but rather it can reward low-level thinking, and so we have to get above that. So let me ask you a question. What do most people believe is the good life, if you were to think about it? They probably think it's like a cool car, maybe going on vacation, maybe a good dating life, or whatever else. I'm gonna tell you that if we're looking at life through the puzzle metaphor, where we say that life is really just a preparation game, then it really doesn't matter that much to what extent you get, you know, the fun flings and the friends and the money and all that. That's really just something at the surface. What I think is even more powerful is, like I said, and I'm not gonna cover that much in this video, is your connection to your higher self, your higher power, your spiritual side, but also in the physical world, it is what I would just basically call the will to act. Now, what I mean by the will to act is that in life, you're gonna have all these different obstacles. And these obstacles are put here very, very specifically, to challenge you. So what'll happen is that these things will come up that will frustrate the crap out of you. And you'll be saying, and what's gonna happen is it's gonna test you. And in the test, in effect, what's happening via the test is that it says to you, are you ready? Do you wanna move up? Or do you want to stay right down here? And that test is going to come in many different forms. So it could be something where you want to go execute your will to act, like to basically, I mean, the beauty of it is basically that you almost put on horse blinders from all the things that could distract you, and you find solutions quickly to all of the different things that are going to plague you. Okay, because when you have this goal, what's gonna wind up happening is that people are gonna come mess with it, situations and circumstances are gonna come mess with it, things are gonna get harder, and it's gonna test you. And you've gotta have the belief, if we're gonna use this metaphor, that basically you pre-planned your life. You came here to completely, utterly pre-plan your life. And whatever it is that's coming is that next test, which is basically like the little pot of gold trail, and you're walking to that pot of gold. Now, in many ways, like I have just seen this, it's like you will get the exact bad challenges right as you could handle them, but also you'll get these little wins right when you would need them. It's like that perfect thing that you need will come up right when you need it. Whether it's bad or good, it's gonna come up. And so you've got to be attuned to this and recognize it as happening. See, what's happening is that the sort of deranged, low vibration energy, almost what you could metaphorically call satanic view of things is, I want to stay the same. I want to stay like this. I don't want to grow. And instead of me growing, I want to somehow manipulate the outside world to conform to this existing version of myself. And the reason why Satan is a great metaphor for that is because you're staying in these lower energetic realms forever. You're blocking your actual ability to grow. Isn't that insane? Do you want to just stay here forever? I don't know for a fact what happens. It's just really a thought experiment. So don't worry about whether that's accurate or not. It's ultimately a thought experiment. But basically, if you, like, you'll see this with people where they get mad when anything comes and challenges them, or they get mad when they don't have certain opportunities that other people do, or they get mad about basically anything, and they're always trying to get other people to conform to how they are. A better question to ask yourself is, why did I pre-plan this? What was the plan here? What was my game plan? What am I trying to see here? What don't I know? And when you get that reward, you don't even need to get so attached to that reward. You're like, okay, this is cool, this is nice. The reward, here's how you want to think about it. It's like you're swimming, okay? You're swimming to get back home. And the reward is like this little island where you could just take a break. You just enjoy the little island for a minute, and as you're on that island, you just take in the gratitude. This is nice. This feels good. I'm grateful for this. And then what I want you to say when you take in that gratitude is, I want you to say, I love this so much. Thank you so much. How could it get any better than this? And then basically what you're doing is you're aligning your reticular activation system to say, how could this just get even more awesome? Because you're so grateful for it. Then just keep moving and keep executing your will to act, okay? So in effect, the bigger game is more about what you'd call the cultivation of character. And your true joy is not getting that car or getting the money or getting the little fling or the romantic experience or whatever it is. That's not the reward. That's the island. But see, what they've got you thinking is that the little island, they've got you thinking that that's what you want. But that's going to hold you in hell. It's holding you in the lower realm because you get attached to it. That's why they say, don't have an attachment. So you're sitting there taking in the physical. Now, what they teach you in spiritual growth is they say, you want to worship the creator, not the creation, okay? And you can read the book of John about this in the Bible. You don't need to be a Christian by any means at all to gain value from it. You can look at it as a metaphor. Turning water into wine, is this a factual thing that happened? Or what could turning water into wine mean? What could feeding all the people mean? All the bread? I don't remember the exact story. I'm not someone who studies Christianity closely, but there's powerful metaphors there, right? The abundance and sharing the abundance. Do you see this? It's being attached to the creator, not the creation. What this means is that you're not stuck in, I need this, or this didn't happen, I'm a victim. Make the world conform to me and my paradigm. Stop trying to make the world conform to your paradigm. Say, no, thank you for giving me that next stimulus that I need to go into my next paradigm. Because what's gonna ultimately happen is you're gonna hit this kind of tipping point where you can choose to go to the next paradigm, or you can choose to bemoan your life and stay in the existing paradigm, which means that you're stopping your journey. So what I want you to do is I want you to provide almost like a counter advertisement for your own brain. I want you to start saying, yes, I want the car. I want the fun fling. I want to have the cool friends. I want the big crib. I want the trips. I want the education. I want to take the seminar. Whatever it is, I'd love you to come take my seminar. Whatever it is. But at the same time, understand that these are little islands where it just gives you a chance to kind of pause. Like, say I'm sitting here in Chicago. I could just pause. You know, I've got a great group of students here that have been learning from me here this weekend. So grateful for all you guys being here. You guys having fun this weekend? Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate that, guys. You know, I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for the skyline. I'm grateful for the videos that we shot. But I'll tell you, nothing on this earth could exceed for me just executing the will to act. Executing being back in the park and being told, oh, you got to get out of here. Executing the video in the rain, or going into a state of release and allowing these ideas to flow from me, from wherever, to me, to you. That is the will to act. The will to both go through your own journey and grow in your paradigms, but also in the process of this to pull down beautiful, positive energy and to transmit that into the world is the greater reason that you're here. And believe me, when your purpose for being here is done, you're done and you'll be out of here. So enjoy the ride while it lasts, but don't get too attached to the toys because you don't get to keep the toys. But what I think is so powerful is how you advance in your paradigm, become more in a state of release, increase your paradigm, and move up in your ascension. And in doing this, you wind up getting the things that you want, but ironically, you're not even attached to them. So what we'll do now, as we're sitting here in the rain, what's our next solution? We're gonna go under there, under the bridge, and we're gonna knock out the rest of this video, and again, show you how to get what you want, but paradoxically, it's by releasing it and by being strategic in the process of that release, because you're making strategic decisions that you wind up getting exactly what it is that you want. So now, like I said, there's the spiritual game of life, but there's also the physical game of life. And the first thing that you've got to get good at is auditing what assets it is that you have and really digging deeper and getting creative or thinking laterally as far as what it is that you have to offer. So, for example, I live in Los Angeles, and in Hollywood, getting in the clubs there is almost impossible if you don't know somebody who can get you in, right? Now, this will drive you crazy because you'll see these amazing clubs that you've got to go to. The people there are very, very attractive and very, very cool. Some of them are crazy. You know how this stuff goes, mixed bag, but you definitely want to get in. Well, how would you get in if you have no resources at all? Here's what I would tell you. You would go to a club where people who are not really all that are, and you can get right in, and you'd go and you'd quickly make friends with people. How would you do that? You'd use your basic level charisma. Why is basic level charisma so powerful? Because it's something that you don't need money to get. You can build that on your own, okay? So you'd go in and you do that. Then what you do is you would invite the people who you met at the kind of lower level club, and now you'd have some friends with you, and you could probably get into a better club. And when you got in that better club, would you sit there in the corner with the people who you went with, or would you go meet even new people? Well, of course, you'd meet new people. What you do is you probably take your social media, you'd put a bunch of people into your social media, you meet a whole bunch of new people, and then you meet even better people. Now, because you're walking up with even better people on your arm, now you'd probably go to one of the best clubs, and you'd go in there, and would you sit there just in the corner in your drink like this, not knowing what you want in that situation? No, you'd go around and meet even more people. Now, in saying that, you can see how you could eventually get access to the best clubs. Then eventually what would happen is you become a regular at that club. You'd befriend the promoters, you'd befriend the bouncers, you'd befriend everybody. And what would wind up happening by the end of this is you'd have so many different friends that you would have no problem whatsoever meeting anybody who it is that you want, and it would just kick ass. So doing that, things are just gonna get only better for you. But if you don't do that, things are not really gonna get a lot better. Instead, you're gonna be stuck. Now, so many people get stuck, don't they? They really, really do. They're really, really just stuck. And when they're stuck, they're like, really, I don't honestly know how I could get into a better place, right? So what's happening is you're looking at the people in this really, really good club, and you're thinking to yourself, you know what? There's the haves and the have-nots. And so you're like, okay, there's people that are just let in the cool club, and then I'm not let in the cool club. There's the haves and the have-nots, and I can't get in. But here's what you're not seeing. You've got to do a very clear audit on what you can control when you have low resources and build your way up. What I've always taught, for example, is that the two main things that you can control if you have no resources at all, one is your charisma and putting out positive vibes, just having a lot of fun, which then you could build up to a great peer group. The other, frankly, but we won't get into it here, is direct marketing, okay? Direct sales and marketing. Like, anybody can learn that from the internet, from different YouTube channels, from different, in the future you're watching this, YouTube's not around anymore. It's very learnable, okay? Sales are very, very learnable. Anybody can go and learn that. You don't need a university degree for that. Super high leverage skill. So think about it this way, right? If you have no skills at all, you've got to start auditing what you have. Now, if you go into, say, a bar club, for example, you've got to ask yourself, what do people want? Well, do they want, to go there and pander to you? No, they don't. They don't want to pander to you. What people want is what they want, not what you want. So you've got to ask yourself and audit, how can I provide value? So that's the first thing in any situation where you want to produce abundance in your life, is you say to yourself, What do other people want? What is the reason why most people at a low paradigm can't think that well? Because it's the same thing that might make them want a handout. They want what they want. They're in a mental contraction, and they're sitting there probably traumatized, probably steeped in low vibration energy, and so they don't even have the bandwidth to think of what other people want, right? Let me give an example. If I'm in an Uber and I'm really underslept and I'm hungry and I'm cranky, the Uber driver says to me, "Hey, how you doing?" And I go, "Fine. I gotta get to the airport." But if I'm feeling good, the Uber driver says, "Hey, how you doing?" I say, "Hey, I'm doing great. How are you doing? How was your day? How long you been driving?" Right? One is coping, the other is thriving. When you're in a coping state in low vibration energy, what winds up happening is you're so stuck in your own trauma and you're trying to sort of deal with your own trauma. The trauma's so deep you're trying to deal with it, that what winds up happening is you don't have the mental bandwidth to actually think of what other people would want. And then if someone provides you with a narrative that says that it's not your fault and everything sucks, that narrative resonates because the negative narrative resonates with the trauma. Do you see how this happens on a mass scale? So say that we want to dig society out of this kind of situation. There's a couple ways we could do it. One is we go to all the rich people, we say, "Hey, you give them everything. Give them all your stuff, buddy boy," right? We can say that. And what's gonna happen is somebody who's still traumatized, somebody who's still in a lower paradigm, and somebody who still doesn't understand how to manage resources, they're gonna get a few things which panders their existing paradigm, but then in most likelihood, they're probably not gonna take that and start going into some giant upward spiral. They might, there's cases of it. Some people get a nice opportunity, they do take advantage, but I've learned from my own experience that many don't. So instead what we have to do if we wanted to fix this issue is, number one, you've got to get people to start fixing their trauma. Honestly, when you're that mentally traumatized, you've got to learn how to release the trauma. You've got to understand how trauma hits you because you have these kind of leaks in your protection shield. You're not in control. You feel like you're not safe. You feel like you're not getting approval. You feel like you don't know what's gonna happen. You're attacking yourself. You're attached to things. And the trauma can enter into your psyche through those little holes. I've covered this in depth in other videos, and I will cover it in depth and probably on entire channels in the future if I'm lucky enough to make it that far. So that's the first thing. We gotta get kind of the inners down to even resonate with a higher paradigm. Then what we've got to do is we've got to audit what other people want. What do they want? So for example, say you went to a bar club. What they probably want is people of high status to meet. They probably want good emotions. They probably want to feel validation. They probably want to have a better place to go to. So what do? You learn how to carry yourself with more confidence, work on your confidence, your eye contact, body language, vocal tonality, boundaries, fun, self-amusement, all that charisma which you are in direct control of. You focus on that, you wind up raising your status. Then what you wind up doing is you get to the point that you can be fun and playful with people. And when you're fun and playful with people, now they want your validation, right? Because you're kind of playing around and like, I want that person's validation. Then maybe you say to yourself, where's somewhere cool I could invite this person to? Do you really have nowhere cool at all to invite people to? Because I can tell you, when I was living in closets, when I was living on bathroom floors, I could always think of somewhere cool to invite people to. What would I do? I would use the charisma that I cultivated to go make friends. Then I would say to my friends, hey, I can invite over a lot of attractive, cool, amazing people if you let me use your crib. And then in doing that, I also made business connections. I also made romantic connections, friendship connections, networking connections, and I came up from nothing. I also taught myself things about sales, and then I learned how to make a course out of that social skills, and then I wound up selling it using sales and marketing. You see what's going on here? And by the way, that sales and marketing rabbit hole goes deep, 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 and we'll cover that in the future in videos as well. So what this wound up creating for me was a situation where even though I felt like there was the kind of haves and the have-nots, maybe it was socially with things like nightclubs or things like that, but it could also be financially. When you learn marketing, again, marketing is the study of what other people want and then how to relate that to them. The study of socializing is studying what other people want socially and how to relate that to them. And you kind of slowly work your way up by a continual audit, again, of the following. What do other people want? What small amount of assets, even limited, do I have that I can play off of? How can I begin to cultivate that? And then how can I begin to scale it and amplify it to offer more and more value? Now, in doing this, I'm telling you, you can find resources that you never thought you could have. And now you've gone from hanging out with other people in that low paradigm that we've been talking about earlier in our discussion here, and suddenly you're hanging out with people at a higher paradigm, which, by the way, you become who you hang out with. Now you're hanging out with other people at a higher level paradigm, and you start becoming more like them. Then you're studying things like sales and marketing and basic level stuff that frankly anybody can go learn. Anybody can learn internet marketing, sales and marketing, and direct response. I'll get into that in other videos. You start learning that, which is really the study of the same thing as like with socializing. Studying what other people want, auditing what you have, and then looking at how you're structuring that to them and providing it to them. And in doing that, now all of a sudden what you have is a base level foundation. And then what happens is you can really build out your structure because as we said, when we went under the bridge over there, you are a lot more than you realize. So in this video, I mean, I could talk for hours about what you really are as a structure, you know, not just Steve or Peter or Linda, but we'll start to cover that here. And we'll leave you kind of just with the tip of the iceberg, and then we'll go much deeper in future videos. But what I really want to show you here is that there's a bigger game going on. And as much as doing all those little things, look, whatever little parties you get to go to, money you make, whatever, you're not going to get to keep that when you die. But what is important, of high paramount importance, is that you are in the process of your ascent. And in order to even resonate, to even understand or align with ideas of a higher level paradigm, you are forced to ascend in a meaningful way.
Let the morning break. Run from the night. Set free the light. Run from the night.
What we're going to wrap with right now is how you are a lot different than you think. And what I want to do is I want to get you to stop thinking of yourself as John or Mary or Steve, and to start thinking of yourself as more like an entity that may or may not have structural integrity. Now, here's what I mean. At a core level, you have to build some kind of value. Like I said, you've got to start auditing what it is that people want, and you've got to find an intersection between what you have to offer by auditing that. You got to be like, what have I got? What have I got? What have I got? You got to see the opportunity, okay? See it, audit it, believe it's there. You have more than you realize. Do a deep dive at what your weapons are as far as what value you have to offer. And then from there, begin to cultivate that value as much as you can and realize how to relate it to other people. And here's the key to everything. What will happen, here's the basic idea. I want you to imagine like a circle. And inside the circle is the layers of value that people can access, okay? The full value that you've cultivated. But outside of the circle is actually a boundary. And past that boundary is these little chunks, what I'd call outreach, which is little tiny tastes of the value that you have to offer. Now, what this means in practical sense, I know it sounds crazy, would be like, say that you're an amazing person, and let's say that getting to know you, there'd be so many cool things that someone could benefit from. But you can't just give it all away because people only value what they invest in. So what you do is you get out there and you give little small tidbits. Now, why is it, by the way, that at a lower paradigm, people fail to understand this? Russell Simmons wrote a great book about it. He called it Super Rich. He said that people at a lower level are often in scarcity and they don't want to give away anything for free, okay? And in scarcity, it's like you're holding so tight. And if you could just let go a little bit and let it out and offer some value, it's amazing what value you can get back. The example he gave was, let's say that you were dirt poor, living in the street, and maybe you could find a broom. And just for free, you went and swept the front porch of the local businesses. Eventually, someone sees you doing that. They're like, wow, I've never seen someone this responsible. Maybe they give you a job at the deli. Then you start to learn how the place works. You build it up. Then you wind up getting a job as a manager. Later, maybe you own the store. Are there examples of reasons why this can't happen? Of course there are. There's many different reasons why this might not happen. You can sit there and find them right now, and you wouldn't be wrong. Okay, there's plenty of reasons why this could never happen for you. But guess what? There's probably an equal number of reasons why it could. And again, if you're stuck in low vibration energy, it's going to block your RAS from believing that you have assets. You are more powerful than you think. You have more assets than you think. You can slowly build yourself up. And guess what? That's a good thing. You don't want too much success too quick, because if you had it, you'd mess it up. So it's almost like for the tree to grow up tall, you've got to plant some roots. Maybe that first little bit of roots is saying, you know what? I can offer some value here, be responsible, get into a routine. Then you can have a little bit more responsibility, get into more of a routine. Look, I can tell you something. At a high level of success in business or a high level of success in social skills, the people that are crushing it have read thousands and thousands of books in many cases, gone to thousands of seminars or hundreds of seminars or a lot of seminars, networking groups. They've sat there taking tons of feedback. They've examined themselves. They've looked at themselves. They've had failures. They've been kicked down. They've been through pain. They've been through nightmares to get to the point where they're evolved enough to handle that level of success. If you just go shoot up and have that level of success easily, right? Funny enough metaphor, shoot up, right? If you were to shoot up and have that level of success instantly, again, first of all, you're in the paradigm of just wanting the world to conform to you. But second of all, you haven't been through the pain. You haven't been humbled. You haven't been beaten down a little bit. You haven't had to go through enough. You haven't had to take the lessons. You haven't gone through your journey. So you want to begin to embrace that journey, not viewing it as a bad thing, but viewing it as a good thing when you feel that pain that we all do. And trust me, I got plenty more ahead of me because I've said, you know what? I want the pain. I want the lessons. I want to grow. I'm ready. And sometimes when you say you're ready, say, I'm ready. Believe me, it can get pretty intense. I've had it pretty intense, and it's going to get more intense. I'm sure many of my downfalls will be very public and very painful, and I understand that, and I've known that. So just understand that as you're building yourself up, again, you're going to feel a tightness that you can't give anything away. You can't do it. Maybe you're afraid of rejection. Maybe you're afraid of the judgment of your peers, that you're getting out of that tight little energetic, toxic, parasitic loop. Maybe you're afraid of your own light, your own shining light, whatever it is. But you get out there and you offer and you give. You got to open your hand up a little bit. You know, you walk in a bar or club, you're afraid to talk to anybody, you're not ready to give your gift. Give your gift. Let yourself shine. Get out there. Rather than walking up to someone going, I want something. What can I get? What can I get? Right? Like a little goblin. Instead, just go, you know what? I want to make somebody's night feel great. Try going out and just making people smile and have some fun. Watch what kind of reactions you get. And that's the starting point, right? And that's like we said in the graph, there's the outreach. But then what happens is now there's a boundary. And if someone wants to get to know you further, maybe they're gonna actually have to invest in as well. Why is this? Because people ultimately will value the most what they invest in, okay? And so what happens is that when someone can see you have value to offer, you can give a lot away, but it can't be everything. At a certain point, on a high point when they're loving it, now they've got to invest a little bit. Maybe they want to come out and get to know you. Maybe they want to change social media or something like that. Maybe they want to come to a party. And at each level, whatever it is, maybe they even dislike you, but you know what they gave you? They help you to deepen your roots spiritually. They reminded you that not everybody's going to like you, and that's okay. It further reinforced your own set of boundaries that you're looking to meet people who value you. So at every level, if somebody loves you to death, somebody likes you a little bit, or someone dislikes you, you can get to know them in a deep way and have a lot of exchange with them. And you should probably focus on those people, but you can also, somebody who maybe likes you a little bit, you can invite them out to a party where they give you social proof. You can say, hey, maybe just follow me on Instagram, which is a social media platform. You can say, hey, maybe come to a party. Yeah, they can just kind of pop into a party. Someone who dislikes you, again, they reinforce your boundaries and they put you more in the spiritual. So at every level, there's a value exchange to be had. And as people invest, now they value that investment. Now you can have another little boundary. Okay, you can invest further and come closer and closer and closer. And what begins to happen through this process is now you have audited what value you have to offer. Then what you've done is you've actually said, how can I cultivate it more? How can I kind of start to pull myself up by being creative and by actually playing with what I do have and the assets that I do have and auditing what other people would want? Then what we do is we go through the process of opening up a little bit, not being so tight all the time that you need, right? In that scarcity paradigm that's actually blocking anyone from liking you. You need something so much, it puts people off, it repels them, right? You want to be like the sun. What happens when you're the sun? People want to move towards you. And then from there, here's the interesting part. As people love what you have to offer, you can actually add boundaries and say, you know what? Maybe pay for that. Maybe you come to a party. Maybe we have a, amazing, fun, wild fling together. Maybe you do other awesome things for me and there's a mutual exchange. And so once you understand that, you're now beginning to understand how to elevate yourself. And I mean, this goes so much deeper because this video is really just the introduction. Like, this will be a video that I kind of point back to help you to understand just the introduction to higher level paradigms. But we'll wrap with, we'll do one final shot here. And what we're going to wrap with is the power of multiplying that value that you have, because ultimately, as you have more value, now you can actually expect more. And as you expect more, people will give you more, and you shoot up and up and up. Okay, so it was funny because I was asking everybody here what they learned from me, and I'm at the end of a crazy weekend of teaching, and everybody sees my voice is kind of going out. You can feel it a little bit. I'm sitting here, I'm shooting in the rain, and the whole video was about finding solutions and not focusing on pain. So I guess that was something all of you guys noticed, right? It was like me not really caring if my voice a little bit raw. Right, I'll just open it right back up. Who cares? I'll deal with the consequences tomorrow. Voice hurts a little bit, shooting in the rain. Doesn't matter. Nothing matters. It's about the will to act and finding the solutions, okay? It's not even about the money you make in finding solutions. The money's cool. When you have no money, it sucks. It's about the will to act. So, again, the will to act as a part of our physical experience on this earth, one half of the whole, because the other half is the spiritual side, okay? But they're synergistic. So on that physical note, here's what we're gonna wrap with. I'm gonna ask you some trick questions, and I'm gonna ask you also to think about the compounding aspects of success and failure. So let's start with the trick questions. Let's say that you go out and you meet someone who really, really likes you. Then you go out and meet someone who kind of thinks you're okay, and then you meet someone who doesn't like you. What is the best way to gain value from each? Well, in my experience, if someone really likes you, you could say, you know what, let's go hang out right now. Or let's go on some really cool adventure together. You might invite them to hang out with you for a couple hours. And if they really, really like you, they're gonna wanna go and meet you, and they're gonna wanna offer value back. They're gonna wanna do whatever it takes to make your experience amazing, and now you have this amazing exchange of value. That could be networking. They give you all these different ideas. They introduce you to their connections. It could be they give you business ideas. Maybe they spend money with you. Maybe they have some wild, crazy fling with you. Maybe you share a lot of good emotions, whatever it is. If they like you a lot, boom, you go do that. Now, likewise, what if they only like you a little bit? You know what you do? You make a funny social media story with them. How cool is that? Because maybe they like you a little bit, but they want to give you a little bit of social proof. You're laughing together, and now other people who are watching your social media are seeing a whole bunch of people around you, right? Funny enough, okay, see, all of you are here, we're on a premium program together. Thank you for being here, guys. And all of you here, funny enough, have probably been to one of my free events. Many of the people might, see, if you're here at one of my premium events, you probably think what I'm doing is cool. Did you guys think it was cool?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. So, but likewise, some people that come to my free event, they're not actually thinking what I'm doing is that cool. It's just cool enough to check out a free event. Maybe just watch a free video. If somebody comes to a free event, they're social proofing me. They're filling the room with a bunch of people for a cool video. If you at home are watching this and you'd never come to one of my premium events, that's fine, but keep racking up the view count. Now, funny enough, here's the best part. What if somebody dislikes it? It's a pop quiz for you guys. What if somebody dislikes the video to the point that they even make a video back about how much they hate the video? What value could they be offering then? What could somebody who, they call that a hater. I don't necessarily have to view it as a hater, but they call that a hater. What could a hater video actually offer to me? What do you guys think? Pop quiz.
Learn from your mistakes.
Attention.
Attention is a big one. What else?
Learn from your mistakes.
Learning from mistakes would be constructive criticism, and that's another one. You could get constructive feedback. Actually, that's really good. Or another one could also be they show you the areas that you're miscommunicating. You know, there's so many different areas that people just don't understand my communication. So if someone dislikes me, they're like, he said this. Owen said this thing. And like, for example, a big one would be like, I said that if you had a hard time learning this, take your time. But then that gets miscommunicated as, Owen says it takes forever to learn, or, you know, things like that, right? And so it shows you, okay, you got to improve your communication. But here's another one. What do we know, guys, about people that are really, really successful? What do they have? Haters. So as soon as you're successful, you're going to attract that because people, they're going to get triggered because they're at a lower level paradigm like the one that we discussed, and they believe, and here's the key, at a lower level paradigm, somebody believes that success is a zero-sum game. So if someone is at a lower level paradigm, they believe that if you would just go away, they would be successful. And so what happens is that their what else is kind of skewed, and they're like, if that person would just go away, I'd be successful. I just got to get rid of them somehow. Maybe if I talk enough crap on them, they'll go away, and then I'd instantly have all their success. But of course, what did we talk about with success earlier? To get to success at a high level, you don't just get rid of one other person and you get all the money somehow, right? It's like people at a low level, they think if the business owners went away, suddenly they'd have all the money. Right? It's like that book, Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. Kind of a crazy book. I don't agree with all of it, but it basically posed the question, what would happen if all the business owners went away? Would suddenly all the people that are at a lower paradigm suddenly know how to operate everything, or would everything fall apart? Again, the book is crazy. It's kind of an out there book, but you can learn from that basic idea, and hey, it's a heck of a read. So read it. You get the point, right? So if somebody is a hater, They think if they could get rid of you that they'd get that success because they're at a lower level paradigm and they haven't gone through that whole journey. They haven't built all the roots of all the lessons and experience and the self-discipline and learning about marketing, learning about business, learning how to offer value. They haven't been through all those hard lessons. So because they're at a lower level paradigm, they think, the same way a lot of broke people think, if those successful people went away, then all the money would be here for me. It's a zero, it's like a pie. And the reason I don't have more of the pie is they're eating all the pie. And I want the pie. I just wish it'd go away. And they did me wrong. It's wrong. Get back to a little bit of South Park. Okay, so you see the point that I'm making here, right? The haters are actually making you look higher status. The hater actually makes you look better. Trust me, when I'm not that popular, I got no haters. When I'm popular, I have more haters. So you've got to be coming from the frame that even a hater is feeding you with energy. And look, what a hater's doing is they're forcing people to choose sides. And what winds up happening is that people actually who like you even more. So like, that person's wrong. They take your side even more. They get invested in your success. They see other people reacting to you, which makes you come across successful. And also, here's the last one. This is pretty cool also. Usually people in a negative paradigm and talk a lot of crap attract the worst kind of clients, and they wind up actually acting as a filter because someone's like, oh yeah, that hater guy, he's the person I want to listen to. Go with him. Right? Go with that guy. Because what winds up happening is that they wind up attracting the worst of the worst, the lowest level people around them. Usually they wind up infighting and attacking each other anyway. So look at what you've done here. Somebody who loves you to death. What you do is you exchange value at a high level. You do business together. You maybe have a romantic relationship. You make best friends. You do sales. There's all sorts of things that you can do at a high level. And what you simply do is you recognize this person thinks I'm amazing. So you do what's called a CTA, a call to action. This person thinks I'm amazing, so I'm gonna do a call to action where I make them a great offer, and it's an offer that requires them to be a little bit more invested, right? So, if someone loves you to death, you can invite them, for something longer. But see, if someone just likes you a little bit, then they're gonna be the social proof for you, right? So maybe you invite them to a party, maybe you invite them to, to look at a video that you created or something like that. And you can, that social proof they offer is invaluable. The main key is that if somebody's really, really into you, you invite them for an exchange that's maybe higher level investment. But if someone's not that into you, invite them to something that A, you'd be doing anyway, and B, that they can easily leave. Let me say that again. Someone who's kind of into you in the middle level, something to where you'd be doing it anyway, so they don't feel like you're doing it just for them, because it's gonna freak them out. It's too much pressure. They don't feel like you're doing it just for them. But B, something they can easily leave. So you minimize the downside, right? Then at a low level, someone dislikes you, you basically ignore them, but you allow them to feed you with energy and focus and good feedback and that kind of vibe of being a celebrity. So and screening out the bad people who then clump in with them. So at every single level, there's something to be had. Now, what we've really covered here, this is honestly just the tip of the iceberg, because when you open up your reticular activation system for opportunities, you have no idea how deep this goes. Like, let me give you an example of marketing. Let's say I'm in a seminar room and I want to make some sales, but maybe somebody couldn't afford to take my program because they're flat broke. Well, as they say in marketing, you can turn a dud into a stud. Be resourceful. What do? Right? At a lower level paradigm, it's like, well, that person doesn't have money. Let me do a pop quiz with you guys. If I was trying to sell somebody a really high level program, really expensive, and they couldn't afford it, how could I still wind up getting it to where they win and they get on the event and I win? Can you think of it creatively? Be creative. Payment plan could be one, but what else?
Training them to make more money or have success.
You could train them in free videos to make more money, but here's another one you didn't even think of. You got to open up your RS here. You turn a dud into a stud. You say, hey, go enlist 5 people to come, and you can come for free as an affiliate. Right? Oh, you turn a dud into a stud. Oh, but there's no money. Oh, the rich people took the money. But you didn't even stop to learn marketing for a millisecond to think of something like that. Now, did you? Right? Because you sat there complaining and just saying, oh, the world is hard. The world is hard, when you could have turned a dud into a stud. And guess what? You who could be a dud right now can be turned into a stud or a studette if you just think outside the box, is the point that I'm trying to make here. So at the highest level, you're always thinking outside the box, saying, what else? What haven't I seen? What haven't I thought of? And at the highest levels, what you're doing is basically you're putting out little chunks of value. Some people love it, in which case you engage deeply, and you put what's called the CTA or the boundary a little bit earlier. Basically what you do is somebody loves you to death, they're loving you. Hey, you say, hey, let's have a cool exchange right now. If somebody's not that into you, you say, hey, maybe just follow me. Maybe look into me a little bit more. And then as they're seeing more from you, they like you more, right? So you make it more low-key, invite them to something that they can leave, invite them to something that you'd be doing anyway, invite them to something they can leave, something low pressure. Well, guess what? As they get to know you, they're getting to know you better and better. They like you more and more. Then later you can say, hey, let's have that amazing exchange. Let's have that romantic exchange, that financial exchange, that sales exchange, that best friends exchange, that networking exchange. You're gonna introduce me to your plugs, whatever it is. Here's another thing that you probably never even thought of, because again, unless you're thinking a higher paradigm, it's not gonna occur to you. As somebody's watching you more and more, because you're not putting pressure on them, maybe they're watching your social media, or maybe they're coming to a party. They kind of didn't like you that much, but they're spending more time. What do we know about the principle of investment? We value what we invest in. We value what we invest in. You guys say that with me. Point the camera on them. Say it with me. We value what we invest in, right? You guys are sitting out here in the freezing cold rain in Chicago, shivering. I promise you, this has been a free event. Nobody's coming out here to watch this in the rain. But because you guys are at a premium event, you're learning more. But funny enough, what happens is this. As you put out more value on the front end, then you make an exchange. When someone makes an exchange with you, it does two things. One is because they're invested, they're willing to put in more time and see more value. But the other is when somebody invests, it opens up their RAS. Okay, so it's basically a investment cycle. It's really crazy. It's like this out of control cycle. It gets psycho. Basically what happens is that, let's say that you met someone out, you didn't really like them. And then they just said, hey, just watch my story. They don't say watch my story, they say, hey, trade social media. Then you watch the story. Well, now all of a sudden you put in 2-3 minutes of watching the story and you saw more value. Now you've got to backwards rationalize the time and energy that you put in, because the principle of human psychology is we value what we invest in. Otherwise, caveman, cavewoman, cave person would have hunted an animal and just left it there and not eaten it. They'd build a cave. Well, you wouldn't build a cave. You build some little house and you just walk away from it, right? So nature selected for people who value their investments. You probably value your investment. Well, now someone's watching you more and more, which means that now they're valuing you more and more. As they're valuing you more and more, they can see more in their RAS. As they can see more in their RAS, then what winds up happening, they're valuing you more and more by the second, and now what happens is now you can make greater exchanges. Again, I want you to think of yourself as a as an entity with structural integrity. So what winds up happening is that you have that value in the middle, and then you can ask for more because you're putting out little chunks of value. Now you can ask for more. As people have greater and greater exchanges of value with you, guess what starts happening? You have more value to offer now. Hope you're all following this. This is a mouthful. Okay? As you go more and more and more up, right? Because you're having more exchanges, right? You're making more money with people. More people are dating you. More people are becoming friends with you. More people are networking with you. You're becoming more popular. Then all of a sudden you're getting more knowledge. You're meeting higher level people. You become who you hang around. You're moving up. As you move up, you can set a harder boundary. And as you set a harder boundary, what happens? Now people are willing to jump through that boundary. And when they jump through the boundary, they're able to process the value more and more. Look, this is the problem with giving away free money. People don't value what they didn't earn. You give away the money for free, you see that in stripper mentality. Person goes out, they didn't have to work hard to get the money, they blow it within 2 seconds. People who didn't have to work for something, they ruin it. That's why people become a celebrity. It's like Mike Tyson, MC Hammer type mentality, right? That's why there's no point in giving something. You're interrupting their ability to invest in their own success. You interrupt that moment to invest in their own success, and they can't even process their success. And that's why celebrities get rid of all their money faster than they spend it faster than they can make it, no matter how much they make in many cases. That's not every case. Many counterexamples. I get it. You caught me, okay? But let's focus on the general idea, which I do believe that you could understand. And again, many counterexamples, but we can understand the basic idea. So that's what you're seeing here. And here's what I'll end with, which I think is very sad, and this is what people don't get. Ultimately, when you don't have a lot of value, you have very little leverage. And when you have very little leverage, what happens? You can't ask for much, you have to put up with a lot. For example, if you're bad socially and you get a very wonderful significant other that you're into, but they treat you bad, you gotta accept it because you don't have enough value to attract someone else. So you have to accept it. They start to browbeat you emotionally. Now you're not focused at work. It makes it hard for you to focus on your work. You don't focus on your work, which means that you're less prosperous. You're less prosperous, which lowers your confidence. And then it makes it where your significant other likes you less and you can exert less boundary. That's why it's always not about chasing what you want. It's about elevating yourself until what you want chases you to some extent, okay? To some extent. You see the idea here, right? If you want your partner to like you better, don't let them go through your boundaries more and more. Build yourself up. Focus on doubling down on you is the main key. And so once we understand all this, I hope that all of you understand this, we can see cycles of impoverishment and cycles of scarcity versus cycles of abundance and prosperity is what I'm trying to get through to. Is everybody here understanding this at a higher level now? Yes. Are we beginning to see the cycles of up and down now? Are we beginning to see this, right? Yes. And are we beginning to see how the poverty is in many cases in the mind, and that if you simply fix it at the surface level by allowing reality to conform, it's gonna fail? Everybody here seeing this?
Yes.
Okay, we're in alignment on this. So basically, okay, everybody here seeing it?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the message that I came here to share with you. And like you can guess, this is the tip of a huge iceberg. This is gonna be a video that I'm simply gonna reference because, I mean, things like, you know, turn a dud to a stud, or how to use social media, or how to cultivate your value, or how to work your way up. We could talk about this for years, and it's a beautiful subject, and at any high level, the person who got to that high level is working on this for a lifetime. This is my passion. This is why I want to share this with you guys. I share this with you guys. I sit here, coming here to share this with you because I love you guys, okay? I love you guys to death, and I love everybody to death who I could ever teach, and that's why we're up here late doing this, is ultimately to install a lesson. And the lesson that we got here today is that you are at the cause, not the effect. There's a higher level game, a bigger level game being played on both the physical and the spiritual. That was what we're up here late learning, and that's what we've been learning here this weekend. So we're gonna do some more exercise together, and we're gonna go deeper on the implementation of this, but we're gonna wrap up now, okay? I had fun. Hope you had fun. Give me a hug, guys. Yeah. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you guys very much. I love you guys, okay? Okay? And I'll see you soon, okay? Thanks for being part of the video. We're out.